Hello, everybody. Welcome to World 1 Podcast. I'm your host, ADV. Thank you guys for joining us. To my right, I have the one, the only Big Papa himself, Mr. Larry Giver.
Actually, geographically, I think I might be to your left.
You might be right.
Maybe it depends on which way you look at the map.
Uh, Pretty much, yeah. Okay, side story. So, my friend, he has family in Wisconsin, and I keep saying, "Oh, you're going down to Wisconsin," trying to use it as slang, and he gets upset with me, and be like, "I am going up." I'm like, "But I was just using it as slang. You don't use it as slang. I'm going up to Wisconsin." I was just like, "Okay," and I keep saying, "Oh, you're going down to Wisconsin. You're going down," and he gets mad and mad. He's like, "I'm gonna cut you one day." And one day he pulled out his knife on me, and I was just like, I need to pick up my princess dress and hit the button B and run away real fast. I'm about to do this straight Super Mario Brothers 2 style and go and just float. So now, since I've been corrected by being somewhat, not threatened, but shown, shown the promise of his words, I now say I'm going up to Wisconsin. So.
He pulls out the knife and says, "Motherfucker, I'm gonna cut you so bad, you're gonna wish I didn't cut you so bad."
well, 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 it's funny because when you just said that, I was at work and I was cleaning up these games in the cases, and I kind of was all the way down. And my friend started doing a meme away. He said, "In the jungle, the mighty jungle, a stabbing will occur tonight." And he just, and the way that he did it with his knife out, I fell over and started laughing because he went to the Lion King. I got up and and I almost told my manager, "I'm going home for the rest of the day because I'm sick. I cannot take this. I cannot take this person right now." So. But it's a kind of an inside joke. But we are talking about video games. Sorry for the side story.
No,
Like
we're talking about geography and stabbings.
pretty much, yes.
New
For
show topic.
we're gonna
This is
get
way better now.
exactly. We're gonna go get into our indie watch, and Mr. Larry Giver is going to tell us about Axiom Verge.
I feel like this segment needs its own little sound effect intro. Like we need a one of those beep 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 beep.
Right.
There you go. Cut that and save that. We'll reuse that shit.
Let me get some editing software and we'll do it.
So Axiom Verge already out on a couple of platforms at this point. I'm just busy creaming myself because it's finally going to be showing up on the Wii U, where frankly it should have been from the get-go, as I feel most Metroidvanias should. Because for God's sakes, how many of us are buying Nintendo platforms, in the hopes that we get a Metroid game for it, and they've all indie-wise they've all fucked off to every other platform except for the one where it originated from, which annoys me to no end. But in any case, we're looking at a phenomenal future set style, Metroidvania game where the crux of the really nifty catch or hook is that you have the ability to intentionally glitch the game as a superpower. So
Yeah.
coming to Wii U finally just dropped on the PS Vita as well. So that's on the horizon finally for those of us who like to get our Metroid fix where it actually, came from. Never mind the other handful of Metroidvanias out there that have never come to the mother console where it should be. Things like Shadow Complex and Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet as well, which frankly I think was painfully underrated. But that's just me.
I've never heard of that title. Shadow Complex I know about, and I actually need to buy it on Xbox One. They said it's really good. I'm really interested in trying it out. But the
If
other
you've
game
got
I didn't hear.
if you've got a PC rig that'll run it, I don't know if they're still doing it, but I know when they released the HD remaster of it
Uh-huh.
on PC, they were giving that shit away. That was a fucking freebie. You could download the whole game, no charge.
Oh, that's nice.
I don't know know if that offer is still up, but you might want to check and see if it's out there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's been a while since I played a really good Metroid game. And I have, to let everybody know, I do have Axiom Verge on my PlayStation 4, but I need to work a little bit more on it.
so I've not touched the game yet. And I'm furthermore not going to now that I know it's coming to a platform of my choice. So I've been sitting on my hands and, patiently waiting for an opportunity to get my mitts on it. And it's now come in a form that I don't have to borrow a system from somebody else to play the damn thing.
Exactly.
So this makes me a very happy clam.
And I'm definitely going to double dip and buy it on Wii U because I feel like I need to also do that for Guacamelee. I have it on PS3, but I think I'm going to play the Championship Edition on Wii U.
Right on.
Yeah, that game is so good. I love Guacamelee. Have you tried it?
I've dabbled with it, and I haven't gone real far with it. So
okay, well, it's not too much to love for a long game. Like 4 or 5 hours you could put in, or 6 hours you could put into it.
I will say I was very sad when I booted it up, and I was really looking forward to a game about avocados getting into a fist fight. That's really what a guacamelee is, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It really is. I did not think about that. Wow.
Ta-da.
Yeah. So, all right, thank you. April 19th for the Vita version for those who are interested. I'm still trying to get a response from Adrian, who wasn't able to be on the show today. Unfortunately, he had to work on his game, Tuna Cycle, by the Frozen Machine. So, we're wishing him the best. Hopefully he will be on next episode. And our West Coast correspondent, Mr. Tony, is on the assignment. Hopefully we'll hear from him later on or sometime next week. So you guys, we'll get back to you about that.
He's on assignment dancing with children, which is creepy in its own right.
Well, he's on assignment dance with children, but he wants to know, he's probably saying, like, do they know regular dancing compared to DDR dancing?
Well, if they're kids that he's mentoring, they're probably all the inner urban street children, so it's all hip hop and break dancing, and they just go to dance classes and look at the other students and go, oh, it's already been brought.
I love Bring It On. I love that movie, Bring It On.
You've been served.
Oh, when I watched You Got Served, I kind of was not like, oh, this is good or this is bad. I was just like, man, it really did do nothing for me. Now, Honey, for some unknown reason, I love Honey. But we're going to get into our topic for the show. Graphics.
We're going to talk about video games eventually,
right? Yeah. Today's topic, we're doing graphics versus gameplay. A big issue to some people, they care more about graphics than the gameplay, and there's people who care more about the gameplay instead of the graphics. So I ask you, Larry, is graphics important?
It depends. That's the thing. It really depends on what you're trying to do with your game and how you're trying to hook me. Do I like a real pretty game? Absolutely. Art style, I think, to me, is more important in terms of visuals than how many fucking polygons or pixels you cram into the screen all at once. Art style means so much more in terms of what you're doing with your game and the story that you're telling. Get a good, compelling art style that matches the aesthetic that you're trying to convey with your story and your gameplay mechanic and what you want me to fucking feel, and I'm a much happier clam. Wind Waker had great graphics, but that had more to do with the fact that the art style that they chose, the cell shading, looked great then, and it still looks great now.
Yes.
Because you're not pushing for that hyper realism. Anything that pushes for that ridiculous realism in 5-10 years, no matter how great it looked when it came out, then is just not going to fucking stack up, 5-10 years down the road compared to whatever the hell else is coming out at that time.
Right, and I think like with Nintendo, I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. It's just like when it comes to art styles, Nintendo is kind of the only one that's now doing different stuff, and they kind of do it in an excellent way. Like they really push themselves to bring you a quality in the art styles, because you would see their trailers or look at a Nintendo Direct and be like, oh my goodness, this looks gorgeous. Oh my, just like, and I'm not talking about frame rate or anything like that. I'm just looking at the graphics, just be like, man, stuff is popping. It just interests me because I'm a person who loves art. I love different art styles. I kind of got to give it up to Sega doing the cell shading style. And what was the action game with that knight? It looked like a cartoon. Like from the 80s, and I cannot think of it. You had to press different buttons.
Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair, yeah. I remember seeing that in the arcade, and just like, wow, they're doing almost like movie quality.
Part of that, too, is because of the medium that they were using that nobody else had done at the time.
Yes.
Inside that arcade cabinet was a fucking laser disc.
Yes. And me as a kid, I didn't even realize that, but I seen it, and when I seen it on the big screen, I was just like, this looks beautiful. I'm like, I've never seen anything like this.
Oh yeah, well, compared to every other machine in the arcade, it looked amazing. We had never seen anything like it at the time. So, and really to this day, we still don't see anything like that in the arcades.
Right.
Because where the fuck did you find an arcade, and we must go now, but B, comparatively, nobody else is really doing that hand-drawn art style, for anything arcade-ish anymore either. So,
right. Besides, the people who are making Cuphead, like, and that's another art style that really hasn't been touched in video games, and like it was supposed to be out in March, and it didn't. I think they pushed it back. I just haven't heard anything else from them, and I'm waiting to hear more from them because I really do want to play Cuphead. It looks beautiful, taking that old Mickey Mouse style games. Definitely back in the 90s, kind of the early 2000s. Me seeing Killer Instinct, I was wowed by the graphics, and seeing Mortal Kombat 2 over Mortal Kombat 1, I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so good.
See, I really don't think it was. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think that aside from content-wise, that there was a huge jump in anything from Mortal Kombat 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 1 to 3 or any of the ones that were there in the 16-bit era. Visually, to me, all looked exactly the fucking same. The only difference was they kept adding more content.
Yeah. But I think when I see Mortal Kombat 2, I think they were able to make the graphics more cleaner. And I just feel like they did more. Don't forget, this is a kid during the 16-bit days, so you will completely be wild. Like, if you see Night Trap now, Night Trap looks horrible. I mean, it looked horrible back in the Sega CD era.
That's because Night Trap was fucking horrible.
Well, yeah, but it was something like Snatcher.
I heard they got Admiral Akbar to do the commercial for that. It's a Night Trap.
Yeah, that game. I'm glad that I get this Sega. Well, I'm kind of mad and I'm kind of happy that I didn't have the Sega CD. I'm mad at the fact I didn't have it because I wanted to play Snatcher, but I'm not mad that I didn't get it because that would have been like the only game I played for that system.
Oh hell no, dude! Sonic CD was the tits.
I played Sonic CD and it's garbage.
Fuck you. Sonic CD was awesome. You shut your dirty whore mouth.
Okay, if anyone who hasn't listened to Retro Force Go, check it out. It's the Game of the Year List Mania, and Topher Cantler, who I'm a friend with on Twitter, he gives one of his give one of his lists, and he gives let everybody know some things, and he says, "Shut your whore mouth."
that became one of my most favorite ways to tell somebody to shut the hell up too. Ever since that, all those years ago. Oh dear God! Especially when my wife was pregnant. As big as she got, we had friends like, "You sure it's not twins?" Immediately, so you shut your dirty fucking whore mouth.
And I would have been like, wait, what? Huh? Like, wow. I'm gonna have to listen to that one again because I love when Colette. We're gonna get back into the show to the topic because we can spend time talking
We
about
have our
Retro
own
Force
show here
Go.
somewhere. We'll find it, I swear.
So, I think personally, I didn't get a chance to answer. I think graphics are important. Just like what you said, Larry. It helps tell the story in the game. I mean, it's something to marvel at. It's something to really experience with, and with this just being with the video game industry being so huge of a media, um, your art will make people more attracted to your game and make them want to play. That's why I'm always hooked on seeing what Nintendo has and what art style they're going to use. Like what's going to pop and stuff. Definitely for indie developers who really put time and effort into their game, who like besides the music and gameplay, which we'll talk a little bit later, when they put in their graphics, you kind of feel like, wow, even though you're a small team, this is kind of better than some AAA games. And
Let me ask you this:
huh?
when it comes to graphics, do you roll art style or art direction in with the graphics discussion, or do you separate them out? Like, do you look at how cleanly and how polished the visuals are separate from the art direction, or do you lump those two things together?
I lump those two things together because the art style and art direction. I think for you to have a style, you need some direction on where you really want to go and what you could do. Like how you're going to do the effects, what colors you're going to use, and how they all like mold together. I put them together. The graphics, like what I do is like I separate the art style and direction versus frame rate, because you can have a beautiful art style, it could be going a great way, but if the frame rate jacks up the art style, it makes the motion of the art look terrible. I I I I I start judging it real bad. That's kind of the problem that I had with Grand Theft Auto 5 is that it has a beautiful art style. That's fine, but but sometimes the frame rate in that game is terrible, and I'm just like, I cannot do this. Now I will say when the coloring is like to make the enemies look almost like the background, and you can't really see like pay attention because of the reticle being small, like, which is a gameplay thing. I think that start finding that problematic.
So like I said, I will separate the two as an issue.
Mm-hmm.
For me, art direction is separate from graphics. Graphics is how well it pulls together in motion, how well you execute your art style. But the art direction for me is something separate, and I really think too that an intelligent developer will pick an art style that helps them mask some of their restrictions in terms of horsepower with what they're working on.
Uh-huh.
And in doing so, you end up with some really, really clever shit as a result too. Case in point, things like Killer 7, Wind
Yes.
Waker, all those wonderfully well cell shaded games.
No More Heroes
Also,
2.
No More Heroes 2. Not exactly cell shaded per se, but Mad World was another one too.
Yes, really good game.
That was fucking awesome. But even outside of the cell shading, Retro Studios did an amazing job using just a spectacular art direction to kind of mask some of the limitations of the GameCube comparatively against what was going on the other systems,
Right.
and even especially when they got into corruption, there was a lot of using that art direction to bury the deficiency hardware wise of the Wii compared to the 360 and the PS3.
Yes. And I gotta say, even if you play Metroid Prime, which I still think is beautiful, I was wowed by how much effort and effect they put into the art style. Like when they put the rain on Samus's helmet, and it looks like water, that it looks completely like rain. That's time well spent in the art style and art direction that they chose. Like that effort that they put in, wow! I'm still amazed. That stuff alone just sold me on the game. Of course, it was Metroid already, and I played the demo. I paid for it. I think I told you that. I think I said it on, okay, yeah. If anyone hasn't known, I played the demo of Metroid Prime at Sam Goody, and when I got finished with the demo, I went to the counter and paid for the whole game with no release date or anything, and all I had to do was just go up there and pick it up.
Actually, speaking of demos and releases, I actually got to play straight through Metroid Prime 3 before it actually hit the store shelves. From the comfort of my own couch.
Jealous.
Our Nintendo rep loved me.
Oh, wow.
She was bringing around, she was going to all the stores, and she was bringing around, our kiosk discs, and brought in Metroid Prime 3 about a week ahead, and it wasn't just a short demo, it was full game disc. She's like, you know what? Take this home, enjoy it, just bring it back when you're done. And it was a week before the game hit the shelf, so I took it home, and I blasted straight through that shit.
Can I tell you, that was the first game I bought for my Wii when it came out. I got some money for Christmas, and I found the Wii happily at Target, and I'm like, oh yes, what's the first game I'm going to get? Give me the Metroid Prime 3. There was nothing that was stopping me from playing that game, and I spent like 2 weeks playing that whole game, searching for everything. Just like even with Metroid Other M, which is a different art style, because if you look at Metroid Prime 3 Corruption versus Other M, you could tell the different styles. You could in the graphics, Metroid Prime 3 is Retro Studios, Other M is Tecmo. You could see like frame rate, art direction.
Not only that.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, Other M really falls more in line with that comic book style that you got from Fusion and Zero Mission, too.
Yes.
That bright, simple color pop, as opposed to any sort of realism to it, or attempted realism, essentially. It wasn't about, pushing resolutions and all that. It was more about striking visual color pop in simplicity.
Yeah, and I think that's what which is weird. It's just like when these other companies work with Nintendo and they work on the design or graphics is definitely important with Nintendo, and there's other philosophies. You could see the art direction that works well for that game and how they help the developers be able to produce that and make it look good in their game. Like Hyrule Warriors for Wii U, people laughed at it and be like, I wouldn't play this, which will, like I said, we'll get to gameplay thing. But the art style in there is kind of nice in Hyrule Warriors. Like, for Tecmo to almost execute what a Zelda game looks like, it just amazes me. Like, really amazes me. But we're going to move on. Do you think players are impressed with the art style of a game by looking at pictures of it? Does it further a sell when it's in motion? And we probably kind of answered it a little bit. I think definitely. 1 second. Oh, go ahead.
So I would say that first of all, who the hell is looking at screenshots anymore? Seriously, we have enough streaming broadband capability that who the fuck is looking at screenshots of a game anymore? We're getting trailers and gameplay snippets, from every game coming, just poured out by the bucket full.
Right.
So at this point, we're looking at everything in motion. It allows you to better take in the scope and the sense of things than stills ever did. And on top of that, too, an at least honest developer or publisher is going to show you real in-game running so that you can see how it looks, see how smooth it does or does not run, and see how everything works together in motion. Because anybody can get a great fucking still and send it out to the press and go, look how great our game looks. And that, that's kind of what we had to go on back in the game magazine days.
Right.
Now that, those are gone and everything's gone digital and online to websites where we can, host videos and embed them into pages and just go, here's a trailer, here's some gameplay, see how it looks in motion. It's a way better way to gauge what we're looking to get into and if it's worth our hard-earned dollars.
Right. And I kind of like it where definitely with Nintendo, when they do their Nintendo Direct and they introduce a new game, they'll actually show something early, not the full game that they're it's not finished and stuff, and people can make a judgment over there. But like when they actually get furthermore to a new Direct, like later on in the year or even next year, and you look at the game, you'd be like, wow, this game came a long way. And man, the graphics are amazing. Final Fantasy 15 just had, they did Uncover Final Fantasy 15. They did a conference, and the trailer that they kept showing, it looks beautiful. The game looks gorgeous, and I still got to play the demo. But I don't know if there's going to be other parts to the game that's just going to be drop dead gorgeous to it. I'm impressed by seeing the artwork and everything in motion, but there's nothing that's making me say, wow, looking at a still of this is like beautiful. It's a bunch of lighting and that's pretty much it that really makes the game.
Yeah. And again, at this point too, who's looking at a still? Because at this point, we could look at that and go, all right, how much of that is, publicist manipulation to catch like one great still out of, the rest of the game that may or may not look like crap.
Yeah. And we definitely are now, because of, I think of Aliens, Colonial Marines, we are now like very aware of any tricks, because what they showed as the trailer compared to what the actual game came out to be, we don't want to be lied. Exactly. We do. That's why I think when it comes to E3, when it comes to the trailers, a lot of people complain that they want to see gameplay because what they show in motion is not what we're actually going to get in the game. I feel like it's an ideal of it, because you can have a beautiful CG trailer, but if there's no actual gameplay put to it, you will be like, this game doesn't look good. It's not set to the high quality that you showed us. Take the Order 1886. It looks beautiful, but when it gets into motion for certain things, it's just like I feel like I've been lied to. You showed me a trailer and that's pretty much what you fed me. You didn't really feed me no gameplay until the game actually came out. If you did feed me some gameplay, it's through a magazine like Game Informer, and I have to take their word at it. But I looked at the art style, and I'm just like, yeah, the art style is beautiful. Art style is phenomenal. But I don't need to see this art style in motion to make sure that it's believable, that this is actually what I'm getting. Because I'm cautious if I'm being shown a CG trailer too many times.
Yeah. At this point, I think the only type of game where, stills and concept art really matters or is relevant is, when you pick up something old school-esque, like Shovel Knight, for example.
Yes.
It goes back to like the days of the atrocious fucking Mega Man box art, where okay, we know what we're actually seeing on the screen there, and we know what's on the box, and your brain is kind of superimposing one over the other, because that's what was on the box, and
right.
You're getting that concept of what the developer wanted you to see as opposed to what they could actually put on the screen. And, I still think that's a really nifty concept, to let your imagination still be able to do a little bit of work and, kind of fill in those blanks, go, It's so simple, but at the same time, I can picture what they were conveying.
Right. And definitely if a game came out and it you were you not moved but persuaded by what you read and kind of looked at different things, you would just try it. You would just rent it or you would just actually buy it. Like I didn't buy Mega Man 1, but I played it at a friend's house. When Mega Man 2 came out, I had to have it
Hmm.
because I played it before, and we got actually I think EGM first came out. They had Mega Man 2's cover when he had the gun.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I actually had that magazine, and it got lost. I don't know what happened to it, but when I seen that cover and then I seen the box art, all I cared about was the end game itself, which is going to be our next question. Why is the gameplay important to players?
The gameplay, when utilized correctly, is really the finest means of telling your story and conveying how that story translates into the unique medium that is video games. No other medium allows you to really interact the way that, with it, that video games does. And, a great game will take advantage of that, and, will string the gameplay mechanics to the story. And frankly, I think one of the best examples of that was ever done was Braid, and how they strung the story and the gameplay mechanics together.
Yes,
With things like the time manipulation and specific things like literally moving forward to move time forward, or the ring to slow time, because it's a symbol of binding together and commitment. And it's that to me is one of the coolest fucking things. And you don't see a whole lot of games that do that. But that aside, gameplay is where it all where everything comes together. That's the truly driving, compelling thing that makes you want to buy a game. For me, there's a lot of shit out there that most people pick up, and I look at it and go, I don't care, because it doesn't have anything really niche or unique to it that I haven't played before. For me to be compelled enough to buy a game, there's got to be a hook to it, either
right.
in the amazing story or in the mechanics of the game. Um, Fez to me was one where I loved the mechanic. The aesthetic, the music, and the mechanic all came together to make something truly wonderful that I loved to play. Eternal Darkness is another great example.
Yes.
Where I hesitate to call it gameplay, but I don't know what the fuck else to call it. But the insanity mechanic, for lack of a better term, you know, was a unique hook that other horror games didn't have or didn't do. I
Yes.
loved it. That was a thing for me. I'm like, that's what drove me to buy this game, was that hook.
Yes. Definitely with Eternal Darkness. It really made survival horror definitely or a thriller, mystery thriller, whatever you want to call it. It really made it feel terrifying
Oh God, yes.
because like unless you had to get in a you had when it comes to like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, you have to get into a certain mind frame of being terrified. With Eternal Darkness, everything was up for grabs and unexpected. You just wouldn't know what was going to happen when your insane level went down. Like it affected your camera angles, the way that you play. It still has the famous memory card erase thing as a sanity effect, and it came on be like, no, we're just kidding. Like stuff like that. Not only was it scary enough to make you be like, whoa, what the world just happened? But it really freaked you out. It really made you be like, okay, I might have to put this game down because too much is happening and I can't. Where people would just be like, oh, I just don't want to go in that room. Well, it's a survival horror game. You gotta go in the room. You're forced.
Silicon Knights was one of the first great trolls out there.
Yes.
When you think about it, just fucking with, gamers in all the ways they knew that would push their buttons specifically. They knew their audience and they knew what were the things that would really dick with them. Like, a threat of erasing your memory card or, screwing with the volume on your TV and shit like that.
And
that was brilliant.
And I never got a chance to finish Eternal Darkness, and I need to.
Staring at it on my shelf right now.
I have it too. I just wish that game would come back. And definitely something like Resident Evil 4. I think Resident Evil 4 changed a lot of action games. I won't say cover-based shooting. And people would say, well, Gears of War actually really started that. But no, not really. Resident Evil 4 had the game plan, but I think all Epic did was just put some barrels or some wood things, and they had to play a game mechanic that you just hide, and then you could go in and shoot them. Like that's nothing new. People who play first-person shooters were doing that for a long time. I just think that Resident Evil 4, since the gameplay was so good about that, they just incorporated that the over-the-shoulder thing for aiming and stuff. Which I will say that Resident Evil 4 is a great game. I think it's one of the best games out of the whole series of the Resident Evil things. But stuff like that is very important. It kind of got away from the scares. But, it fixed all the complaints that we had. The tank controls, the inventory slots, and all, Resident Evil 4 fixed all of that. And it just felt more of an evolution to the series itself.
You know what? I think people bitching about the tank controls thing is bullshit because, frankly, Resident Evil got away from what Resident Evil was.
Yes.
Resident Evil was survival horror, and then somewhere around 4, they turned it into a fucking, horror action shooter, and it literally changed genres. And I think that's sad because it's like, really? You all loved Resident Evil, but you bitched about all the things that made it a great survival horror game. It's slow, deliberate, methodical pacing, and I love, I wasn't much for Resident Evil as a series. I never got into it. It didn't have that hook to me.
Yes.
But case in point, one of the games or one of the series that came along through the 360 and PS3 generation that did have that same hook and did extremely well, showing that survival horror is not dead and instead is still there. It just needs to be nurtured properly. Was Dead Space. Dead Space had slow, methodical, tank-style controls.
Yes.
There was no running and gunning. It was very slow, deliberate, and intentional. It was all about ammo starvation, and ammo conservation. And yes, there were some jump scares, but it was that tension, that build-up, the delivery. Everything was fucking on par. And oh my god, if ever there was a reason to have surround sound for video game, that shit was it.
And I need to play Dead Space 1 and 2.
Oh, so good.
I know everybody says it's really good, and that's kind of what I liked about Dead Space. Here, when I hear people talk about it, it's just like it's you alone on an empty spacecraft, not knowing what the world happened and how you got there. You
knew how you got there, and it didn't take real long to find out what happened.
Well,
at least not to get a clue.
But it's just I guess. Well, I misquoted myself. I'm sorry, everybody. Just being alone on that spaceship fighting these monsters and trying to find out what the world is going on. It really, to me, hearing about that and hearing people's reactions, just be like, this is one of the must-play survival games, that you need to get. It's good to hear that, and I think for some people, definitely when it comes like the Call of Duty, and we won't spend too much time on this. They really get upset when an update happens and stuff is like changed, like the weapon damage is changed and stuff. Like people get upset about stuff like that, and I don't know why. Why stuff like that is very important to them.
Because they got into it from the get-go. They found a system that worked, and then the developer comes along and fucking yanks the rug out from underneath their feet. And frankly, I would find that kind of infuriating myself. I mean, I know that, they've made some of those tweaks and adjustments, with fighter games as well. God knows
Yes.
Smash Brothers had how fucking many of them at this point?
I think like
But
5 or 6.
yeah, but again, though, a lot of the fighting games these days are also getting roster updates as well, at which point there are some things that, assuming the developer is doing DLC in an ethical manner, then those updates need to happen. That's kind of a necessity when you're introducing a new character into a fighting game. When you're dealing with an online multiplayer shooter, it's like, you all had the opportunity to play test the fuck out of this. If you didn't get it right, when you sent it out the door, don't sit there and penalize people that got in from the get-go, found
Yes.
something that worked, and, were having fucking fun with it. Don't dick with people's fun. You've already got their money. God's sakes, leave them alone.
That is true. Which goes into our next question. Can gameplay make or break the sale of a game? I think it really is important because it can make the sale of a game. If the gameplay is really nice, like if you play the demo and everything is really good to go and you get an idea, you're kind of like sold on the game.
I think that it can make or break, but it does not always. It depends on what they're really selling the game on. Are they selling you on, a certain gameplay mechanic, or are they selling you on a different aspect of that experience? Are they selling you on the compellingness of the story that they're trying to tell, or are they selling you on, look at the visuals, look at the art, this is the reason to play it. There are games where gameplay is more just a means to an end rather than the driving factor. Take something like Flow.
Yes.
There's not much there for gameplay, but again, that was never really the driving factor to buy the stupid thing anyways. It was, to be able to look at something pretty that had some neat sounds and just shut your brain off for an hour or two. Gameplay didn't really figure into it.
I know, definitely for me, Tokyo Mirage Session, Sharp FE, I was won over by the music and the art style. Like, I don't even know what the gameplay is about, but that kind of broke me. Just hearing the music and just seeing the art style, and I was just like, there's an Atlas game that's beautiful that's coming to the Wii U, and I love this music. I don't know what the word they're talking about. I don't know what this gameplay is about, but I want it right now. And like, I was kind of sold on the art style with that one. Like, the gameplay didn't sell me. It was the art style and the music that sold me with that.
Yeah. See, and gameplay was something that sold me on a game like Lock's Quest. The art and the visuals weren't bad. It wasn't anything truly driving, but the gameplay was really fucking neat. It had a really cool mechanic. Here's a tower defense game where instead of just setting shit up and watching shit happen, you get to get in the thick of it and go do shit.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is active engagement with tower defense. I can get behind this. This compels me. The gameplay was the driving factor there. The visuals were just a byproduct, essentially. So it really depends on what the developer wants to be the driving crux of their experience. Is it the story? Is it the visuals? Which it really usually is with so many AAA games anymore.
Yeah.
Is that, look, oh my god, graphics. Like, I don't care. That means nothing to me if there's not a good reason to fucking play it.
Yeah,
You know?
when I brought DMC Devil May Cry in the midst of everybody complaining and not wanting the game and stuff, and I got into the gameplay, and the graphics are beautiful. It's astounding what they did with that world. I love their art direction, and art style. That gameplay is amazing, and I was hooked. I'm just like, this is better than kind of the original series of the DMC franchise. Um, I was just like so wow. I had to configure some things, but I was truly wowed by the artwork of. I mean, not the artwork, the gameplay. Just how fast, how easy and simple it was to get into, and how stylish it really is. With so not just with the art style, but very stylish in the action. I'm like, oh my goodness! And y'all complaining about a character model and how he looks. Really, over this great gameplay, I gave it high marks. Like I think I gave it like a 9 or 9.5, telling people like this is an A. This is kind of an A minus. Like this is
Oh, yeah.
a really good game.
Well, and in an action game like that, you know, I know exactly what you mean. It's really it's the choreography of the action,
Yes.
you know, that really speaks volumes a lot of times. You know, that counts for a fucking lot when you're dealing with an action game like that. That shit matters.
Yeah. Because like Bayonetta 2, the demo probably sold millions of people. Like we had our discussion on the MVC book club, and I was just like, I still got about 20 tries still for the demo. And when every time before the game even came out, I would come home, throw on that demo, and literally we replay it so many times because the gameplay was so good. Like my dodging, I would time that just perfectly. I wasn't caring about the ranking that I was getting. I was just so engaged with the fighting and just doing all these combos and learning what am I allowed to do and what do I need to learn to better myself.
Oh yeah, you know, there are games like that where, you know, that's really the crux of the game is that choreography, that style, because when it strings together beautifully, you feel like a badass. You feel like
Yes.
you actually did that shit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a really cool trick for any developer to be able to pull off, to really draw you into the experience that way, to give you that sense of badassery.
And I think that's what I think for me personally. I think that's kind of what also made Other M, like Techno putting in their action ideas and design into that game. Like that dodging, I love when it slow downs and dodges, and you just putting the gun through an enemy's mouth and blasting them, and just that flow in those little arena time moments just are amazing to me. And I think a lot of people, the story, it has its problems. That's fine. But I'm just like,
No, the story is a problem. It doesn't have problems. It is a problem. If you removed the story from that game, you would have a great game.
Well, yeah. That's why I said we'll discuss that later. Because I made that when Other M came out that year, it was my game of the year. I won. That was the first and only Metroid game that I 100%ed on the first try.
Really?
Yes, I have never.
Surprised.
Yeah, I have never 100% a Metroid game ever.
I would have thought at least Corruption would have, because Corruption was one of the easiest ones to do that with, because they fucking told you where everything was.
Pretty much. I think I was so engaged. It's just I want to play the game. I probably need to go back to Corruption. Probably when I do my fourth playthrough, I'll try to 100% it. That's never been my goal with the Metroid games. Is 100% them. That's never been my goal. I don't know why.
Man.
I'm weird that way.
Get to the planetarium where you can launch those satellites. You launch all the satellites. It'll tell you where all the fucking items are. You can 100% it. Easy as pie that way.
Oh, okay. He's my Metroid master. Tony is my Earthbound master, and you're my Metroid master. But can both complement each other to bring out the quality of the game? So can gameplay and graphics work together to bring out a better quality?
Yep, Okami, right there.
Yes.
That's the case of the gameplay mechanic played into the aesthetic, and the aesthetic played into the gameplay mechanic, and they fed each other perfectly. That's your example right there.
Standing ovation right there. That's the answer to the whole question. That's it. All you had to say was Okami. That's all you have to say, because that it gels so well in everything it does, in its execution, in the art style, in the gameplay, like how they were able to get Zelda and a really great art style, something new and something fresh, and make them work together. Man, oh.
Okami out-Zelda'd Zelda at the time.
Well,
that was a better Zelda game than we were getting out of Zelda at the time.
Well, it was Kamiya, and he does love the Zelda franchise, so that or Nintendo game. So yeah, I can see that. The HD version looks beautiful still. If you get a chance to play, I played the original Kami on PS2 or the HD or Wii version. It's such a recommendation. I recommend it full-heartedly. Yes, you answered the question, Larry. So we're gonna move on because I can't add no more. You just said you said Okami, and that was it. In a review, if either receive a negative point, some users make a big stink about it. Why is that? Like, why do people complain that if the graphic looks poor in a franchise that they love, they tend like, well, you don't know anything about the franchise. You just a wannabe video gamer or something like that, or Tomb Raider or something. Be like, it's about the exploration, and you didn't really explore. You just focus on the graphics and stuff like that. Like, people get on like little nitpick stuff when a reviewer is just being critical, and be like, be aware of this, that this game has problems in its graphic style, in its in its gameplay style, and people overlook that. Why do you think stuff like that happens?
First off, I think Tomb Raider's an unfortunately bad example, because that's a series that's been trying to really figure out its fucking identity for the last 10 years, and it's not been having a whole lot of luck with being consistent with that kind of shit.
Yeah.
That's tragic. For what it's worth, the last big one that came out, the actual, just titled Tomb Raider on 360, I thought was really cool. I'm not an old diehard Tomb Raider fan, but I will speak to this much. I had fun with that. I thought it was fucking neat.
Yes.
It's the quintessential Tomb Raider experience. Probably not by definition, but it was fun. So again, Tomb Raider I think is an unfortunate example, but it's, when it comes to a beloved series, it's something that the dedicated fans of that series get real finicky about too. There's sometimes a certain level of expectation from the last game to the next one that is coming out, especially time wise, that there should be a certain degree of improvement, in visual and aesthetic, and there are certain ways around that. I think Other M managed to pull that off, and the fact that visually it was a more simple game, but it was also differently striking in its own right, because you changed art style. You went from realism to comic book pop.
Yes.
And that's real hard to compare and say it's not better, but it's not worse either. How do you measure two different things, against each other and grade them? But that's, like you said, I think that there's just a certain level of expectation, and when it's a near and dear beloved series, that you get more up in arms about it, because you're emotionally invested in it. It's something close to you, and you want it to be amazing every time.
Right. And there are some people who are just cuckoo crazy that just take it to the extreme.
I'll own it. Shut up.
but just like you said, if you have that passion because you invested in it, it means something to you. you will voice your opinion. Let's say I like saying that in the correct way. Voice your opinion. You just want to be like, well, you don't know nothing, and you should be fired. And you don't do all of that. You know, like I said, I respect everybody's opinions about games and stuff, and I love having this discussion with people about video games. And even when I read a review, I'm glad that they do mention things so I can get a heads up, because definitely it helps me at work when I have to sell this game. You know, just be aware that this is this and this is that. This kid who's probably about 14 years old was asking his mom that he wants Dark Souls, and I told his mom, I was just like, now I want you to be aware. Just because it's M-rated doesn't mean that it's truly violent. It is a hard game. You really gonna have to stick with it and invest some time with it. I don't care, Mom. I want to buy it. And the mom was just like, okay. I'm like, are you sure this is the game that you want? Do people really like this game? I'm like, if you put the time into it, they would like it. But if it's gonna get too hard for them, and I think he's a person that's not gonna like it. And I even asked them more questions like, what kind of games do you like? And everything he said was kind of like games that were easy. And Dark Souls was not part of his library game that should be in his library. But he wanted to try it, so I got the game. The mom brought the game. I followed the correct procedures in case if anybody was wondering. And I didn't get to hear from her, but another associate just like, are you sure that was the right decision for him? I was just like, he's going to have to learn. I'm like, he should have read the reviews. He should have checked around and did some information, but he's going to put that disc in. It's going to install. He's going to play it, and he's going to hate the game because it's going to be too hard. It's not going to be his cup of tea. But I actually had a kid come in with his dad trying to buy The Last of Us. And I was just like, oh, you are a poor child. You just don't know. You really just don't know. But like I said, if you want it, there you go. Not doing your research.
That's okay. I'll give you one of my fun stories from my days of video game retail. I had this lady come in with some of her, I can only assume friends and or coworkers, and a little on the uptight and obnoxious side. She just kind of happened to rub me the wrong way that day, and she came in to pick up a copy of Halo 3 for her kid, and I spun it into a half-hour philosophical conversation about whether we have the moral right to kill other sentient beings. Just and do they believe in the same God that I put this poor lady's head in circles for a half hour and made her look like an idiot in front of her friends. She was kind of a dick to me when she came in my door. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make you look like a stupid idiot in front of the rest of your friends. Be nice to your salespeople, people.
Yes. We are there to serve you correctly and help you. And that has been a retail review. Coming next. Moving on. Should we hold both of them to a higher standard? Do we overlook it and accept the game for what it is because of a fandom for that series titles? And we pretty much just answered it. I think we do. I think we have to both hold the art style and the gameplay to a higher standard. I'm a big Nintendo fan, and I hold a lot of products up to a Nintendo standard. Now, people could be like, well, they don't have the seal of quality. But I'm just like, if a game feels very Nintendo and it plays very well, like tight controls, art style is really good, you try to do something different, and it's like really involving, like to get into, I kind of hold it up to that standard.
I'm looking at one game in particular that's coming out soon, and I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck standard to hold it to at this point. I'm looking at Federation Force coming out, and I'm like, I've talk about a bag of mixed feelings. I'm sitting here going, okay, I get new Metroid at long last, sort of. What standard do I fucking hold this to? Clearly it's not a main line, in the series. So do I hold it to a certain standard comparatively that I would hold a mainline, title to, or do I just go, okay, this is a neat, quirky side experiment that they happen to put, the Metroid name on, and therefore I don't have to hold it. I shouldn't hold it to that same standard.
Right.
What do I do with this shit?
I think the standard that you have to hold Federation Force is actually the gameplay. I think the gameplay just has to be, if the gameplay is easy and it works well on the 3DS and it's very enjoyable, I think that standard you can hold it to. I mean, you can start thinking about it differently after that, but I'm just like, if the controls are right, if they really got the feeling of a Prime game on the 3DS, I think, and it really makes you happy and makes you really want to play it. I think you can hold it to that standard. Now, I know you can't overlook the fact that this is not a Metroid Prime game. This is not Metroid Prime 4. You're not getting the Metroid Prime that you wish would come.
Honestly, I don't want Metroid Prime 4. I want fucking Metroid Dread at this point. That shit needs to happen already. Bring me 5.
Didn't we get no? I don't know, what was that?
Fusion is chronologically the last one in the series.
Is that 4 or is that 3?
Yep. Fusion is 4. Super was 3.
Oh, because that's right. Metroid Prime 2, Metroid 2 was on Game Boy. Okay. Yep. I keep forgetting. That's how bad I am. I keep forgetting about Metroid 2.
You heathen dick. That is the best one in the series.
I have to play it. I'm sorry. I've never played it.
Get your 3DS out, go spend $5 and play it, and call me when you're done.
That means I have to do that by next Sunday, or the next time we record. Be like, did you play Metroid Prime 2? If it contained Link and the characters from Final Fantasy 15 or some other game that I'm playing, then yeah. Is Pikachu in it? Oh, I just heard that groan. Which means just to move on. Oh, just that.
Move along, nothing to see here.
And for our last question, when a game becomes a classic, do graphics or gameplay make it a classic? Does the graphic style make the game a classic, or is it the gameplay that makes it a classic, or is it both?
Again, I think you're going to deal with the fact that it depends on what was really the driving, memorable thing in that game.
Yes.
Was it a really neat gameplay hook like Eternal Darkness, or was it the story like fuck's sake, BioShock, which remind me, I will tell you how they could have fucking fixed the ending of BioShock. One simple fix would have made the ending of that game infinitely better. And as soon as I tell you, you're like, holy shit, how did nobody think of this? But, or is it the art style? We find the art style of old 8 and 16-bit games, fundamentally endearing. Some of that, I think, just has to do with the nostalgia factor, that's what we grew up with. Some of that is due to the fact that, they will forever look great if they were done great the first time.
Yes.
It really just depends on what was the crux of the experience, what was the thing that drove you to it in the first place. It really depends. And sometimes they all come together and they all, just match up perfectly and will age together perfectly. So many people talk about, fond memories and, GoldenEye on the 64 being a classic, which frankly, I never thought was all that great then, and I sure as shit don't think it's all that great now. But, take any of those people and send them back to go play it again, how many years later, and they're like, fuck am I doing? This is awful. Because they spent the last, 10 years playing fucking Call of Duty and Halo.
Yeah.
And actually, played a first-person shooter with a functional control setup and not the C button bullshit that you had to finagle with GoldenEye, and then the other first-person shooter on the 64 or the PS1.
Yeah, I know for me, It definitely has to be both. I really can't choose why graphics would make it a classic, and sometimes I can't choose why gameplay makes it a classic. I kind of have to choose both. Like Wind Waker is a classic to me. The Legend of Zelda, oh, not Wind Waker, Skyward Sword. I feel like that's the classic to me. Due to its art style, being more expansive. Okami, that's a classic to me because it not only took the Japanese flavor that I do love, but like the art, like we talked about earlier, the art style and the graphics just work. I mean, the art style and the gameplay just works wonderful. It blends so well. Like when I could go back to a game and feel happy that I'm playing it and really enjoying it, that means something to me. That's when I start calling, oh, this is a classic. This is a classic. Like the Mario games. I feel like when I play a Mario game, I'm instantly in love with it because it does something new. And the level design of it works so well. But what I could do within the gameplay, it just makes it like just breathtaking. Like I said, Super Mario 3D World is like became one of my all time favorites. Like it's kind of like in my top 10. Secret of Mana, that's the classic to me, because not only of the gameplay, but of the music style, graphics, the character design, just like everything about that works so well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I think when that happens, and you just be like, man, these games are just like you said, Larry, like story, the direction, just like whatever it means to you to make it a classic. I think the graphics and the gameplay really helps you make a decision about that, saying that yeah, it is the classic because it works so well. I could go back to it, play it, and continually enjoy myself. Definitely, if you haven't played the game, that certain game in years, and you go back and just be like, wow, this bring back memories of as a kid, or whatever I was going through in my life, and it just really means something to me. Uh, but
Oh yeah.
that's just me.
Oh yeah, and I think everybody has that game too. That it may not have been a particularly great game, but it was tied to a certain event or something else going on in your life that it retains that nostalgia factor, even if the game was fucking god awful.
So the last question, and this is going to be the final question because people probably want a definitive answer. Um, which is it for you? And you have to choose just one. We can't say both. We have to choose one. Is it graphics or is it gameplay?
It's the hook. It for me sometimes it's neither. It has to be a hook.
But you have
And
to
in most
choose.
cases, that hook comes via gameplay.
Okay, yay!
In most cases, that hook comes via gameplay. So it's more likely to happen there than it is to happen in graphics. Now, I will grant you, there are some games that it is the art style, the art direction that draws me in.
Yes.
But it's usually when there's something that unique in an art style or art direction, there's usually an underlying mechanic, that supplements it as well, that makes you go, oh, that's fucking neat. So I would say at the bottom of it, the hook usually comes in gameplay that gets me to buy something.
And I agree with you. It's gameplay for me. I love art styles, but I think the gameplay lasts longer than the art styles. Like, because you can look at it, sometimes you can look at a game at that time period and be like, this is so amazing. Years may pass and the art style might not just be there and just be like, ugh, was I really playing this? Like, your taste in art style changes. But that gameplay will always be there and just be like, wow, even though some of the controls and stuff have evolved, it's still a great game to go back and play. Like, when I even finished Resident Evil 4, I went back to the whole game because I was hooked on the gameplay. Now that I finally knew everything, I was just able to be like, I could run through this game now because this gameplay is so good.
Mm-hmm.
But that is our show.
No. I promised you. I told you, and that now goes for everybody that's listening too. And I'm not going to disappoint. I told you. Here's how you fucking fix the end of BioShock.
Okay. Yes.
Blow your fucking mind. Scene where Andrew Ryan has you, and basically, the would you kindly reveal. That shouldn't have been a cinematic. Plain and simple. There was an easy way to fix that. They could have just simply pulled up a little, giving you two options, like, you know, press A to drop the golf club, press B to whack him with the golf club. But
Yeah.
here's the kicker. No matter what you press, you're whacking him with the golf club. Make it an interactive model where you have no control, where control has been taken away from you. That would have driven the impact home so much better than the goddamn cinematic did, where you were literally given no control over anything that was happening. That would have fixed the end of that game.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Congratulations. 5-second fix. I made BioShock better.
and I could say I had my problems with BioShock.
To pay me monies now.
I have my problem with BioShock. I wasn't wowed by it. I thought it was I thought it was a great game, but I really wasn't wowed by it. I wasn't just like, oh, everybody. It was one of those games that everybody was just so amazed and it talked so much about. And I played it and went through it, and I was just like, I don't think I'm doing all of these mechanics right, but I know that I'm not taking the DNA from the girls. So I did get the best ending out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think like something about it just didn't connect with me. I really don't know why. And that's even with BioShock Infinite, that it was just like, it's a good game. Oh, that last level, that last fight is terrible.
That was bullshit.
Oh, that thing is so horrible, and I need to go back and finish it, but I'm just like, this doesn't feel right. Like, this just feels completely unfair.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Did you play BioShock 2?
I haven't started it yet. I need to, though.
Really?
Yeah, I have BioShock 2, but I didn't start it yet.
So here I'm going to give you a neat point of comparison. Do you prefer Metroid Prime or Metroid Fusion better?
Prime.
If you liked Prime better, you'll like the first BioShock better. BioShock 1 is Metroid Prime. BioShock 2 is Metroid Fusion, almost to a T.
Because I know BioShock 2 is supposed to take first before BioShock 1.
Well, the thing is it's a game. It's all in the game design.
Yeah.
BioShock 2 is Metroid Fusion, almost drop for drop. Instead of being able to run around all of Rapture, you're in a section at a time, and as soon as you leave that section, it's closed off. You can't go back. It's guided navigation, and on top of that, you're being hunted the entire game through, just like Fusion. BioShock 1, you're fully open. You can explore everything with no restriction, just like you could with Metroid Prime.
But is it easier than Fusion? Because I found when I first played Metroid Fusion, it was hard as heck. I had a difficult time. Like, I died a lot in Fusion. But I enjoy Fusion. I love Fusion, though.
Yeah. The difficulty scale between BioShock 1 and BioShock 2 is comparable, honestly. It's not as radically different as it was from Super to Fusion. But I will say, do play BioShock 2, because the first 2/3 of that game are a bear when it comes to story. They literally drip feed you just enough, and I mean just enough to make you go, what's next? What's next? But holy shit, you get into the third act, and everything just blows wide the fuck open, especially when you finally get to see Rapture the way that the little sisters see it.
Yeah.
You see Rapture through their eyes, and it's all kinds of fucked up by comparison.
Yeah, I gotta get into it. Usually during the summer, I do my my backlog breakdown or something like that. I gotta figure out what the name is. And every 2 weeks, I will play a game in my backlog and try to finish it. So that's all throughout the whole summer. I didn't get to succeed because there were some games just like after when I got off of work, I just didn't want to play because I was so tired. But I think because of my schedule now, I'll have more time to do it. And what it is that now that I got like 4 systems, I choose a game per system. Because 1 year when I first did it, I did 4 games for PS3. But now that I got my Wii U, my PS4, my PlayStation 3, and Xbox One, any game that I didn't finish or start on, I'm going to dedicate 2 weeks. So it's June it's June and July, and I sometimes do it in. I was gonna do it in August, but depending on what comes out this year and what's released, mostly June, July is where I started. Even through E3, I'm playing just certain games, and I kind of like post a list of what I'm playing, and then when I get done, I'll talk about what I got far in. Ooh, cause Killzone, oh my goodness, Killzone 3, I did that, and I started it on a Friday, and I finished it on a Sunday morning.
Okay. Well, and that's the other thing too, is that some games won't take you near as long to get through as others. So, take advantage of the short games and, blast through them. But
Yeah, I just gotta make. I just need to finish. I need to finish Uncharted 3 before Uncharted 4 comes out. That's a different story though. But anything you want to plug before we go?
No, yes. We've been having way too much fun with Miitomo. You all need to get on fucking Miitomo. It's kind of like playing Cards Against Humanity with yourself.
Yeah.
You'll put in a horrible answer to a perfectly innocent question, and the little snippets that they'll add on to the end of your answer somehow make them even better. So, yes, get your asses on Miitomo and come play with us and, see the horrible, offensive things that I write.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. And you can hear this show on SoundCloud and on iTunes. You can email the show because we want to hear what you guys think about graphics and gameplay. Or if you even play Axiom Verge, let us know what you think. You can email the show at world11podcast@gmail.com. That's WORLD, the numbers 11. podcast@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at thatretrocode, THATRETROCODE. I do have another show called Optional Opinion, which you can also find on SoundCloud and the Anomalous Radio Network.podbean.com. I just got done doing a week called Truth versus Justification, where I talk about what is important to people. Is it finding the truth or justifying their actions to get a solution? So you can read that on IGN.com under Anime, ENIME, and you can check that podcast on Optional Opinion. I am getting ready to do my feature for April called Well, It Ain't Mario, where I talk about B-side platform games. Should be very interesting writing and recording that one. That one is going to be interesting.
I better hear an hour-long show about Bubsy then, damn it.
Oh my goodness, can I tell you? Oh my goodness. Okay. Before we go, I'm sorry everybody. Before we go, I beat Bubsy on the Super Nintendo in one sitting. And it wasn't my game.
Son of a bitch.
I beat Bubsy the first game. I beat it all the way through.
Put in the cartridge and ask yourself what could possibly go wrong.
But this is the crazy thing. And okay, we're going to leave and it's just after this. I beat Bubsy, but I never beat Star Fox. And I tried my best playing all the way through Star Fox, and it kept getting killed. I love Star Fox, though, on Super Nintendo. But Bubsy, I beat all the way through. And it wasn't even my game.
Oh, that game was awful.
It was awful, but I think it was very comedic to me as a young player. Like the music was good, the jumping was crazy, but and the challenge was weird. But I enjoyed my game. I don't think it's too bad. But yes, I will talk about Bubsy. Thank you for reminding me. So you'll be able to check that later on in April. The MVC Video Game Book Club is also a group that I'm part of. Me and Larry are part of. We just got done recording Pokemon, so you can check that out on YouTube at MVC Video Game Book Club. This month we're playing Donkey Kong Country, so come join us on Facebook, and hopefully you guys will join into the conversation. I'm going to be starting Donkey Kong Country soon. If not, if I don't get to it this month, I won't be on the podcast. But I will do my best to play it this month because that game is kind of hard, and I did play that on the Super Nintendo. There's so many games I played on the Super Nintendo that everybody now just play. You'd be like, I remember as a kid that I played this game and I beat it in 3 days. What? Yeah. So, but thank you guys. Hopefully Adrian will be back to join us for our next episode. But, with that, we are out. Everybody have a good week. Have a good weekend, and we shall see you soon. Bye.
Peace.